Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 347. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you so much for listening. Today's guest is the wonderful Lauren, who is the owner behind Let's Go Composting. It's a nonprofit organization local to here in Arizona, but she's also a wonderful individual that's looking to seek out composting bins free to everyone, utilizing the technology of worms. So we sat down with her to try and understand why she loved worms so much and why she thought this was the best method. We help understand what her business is looking to do for the future and what she is getting out of it as well, emotionally, physically, just all around, just everything. So we want you guys to always go to every single guest and check out the links that we always put in the bio. But on top of which, if you could go to our website, findingarizonapodcast.com, we make it easy for you guys to connect with us. All of our social media is under Finding Arizona Podcast. So if you could go do that, give us a like, give us a review, give us anything that you think would give us some kind of feedback so that we can help understand what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. I don't care. I just want to know. So let's move on and let's move over to the little bit more the personal side and what's going on behind the scenes. As you know, this is a video podcast, so we are transferring from not just audio, but into the visual side. So we hope you guys are checking us out on YouTube. But on top of that, if you go to our actual website, we have a blog that you can go check out that is a little bit more of the personal side of the family and what I do behind the scenes. And then if you want to go check out the actual podcasts and just a straight business, sign up for our newsletter. That'll just give you the businessy side. If you want promo codes and want to know just what the guests are or what they're about and just give us a quick synopsis, that is where you will sign up. On top of which, if you just want to understand what's going on in your local community, you can go over there too as well. We try and put in local events as well. So that all being said is that we're trying to produce a small community here, as always, like everyone else's channel, but we want your guys' feedback. We need your guys' feedback. And that being said, we hope that you guys will send us some kind of review, response, anything, like, dislike, everything in between. I hope, because I need it. I need to know. I need the information. But we're moving on. This is episode number 347. As always, we say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye. Welcome, everybody, to the Finding Arizona podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in special guests every week, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you as part of our series of just like wonderful nonprofits coming in through our doors and sharing their stories. Love to introduce you, Lauren Click here, and I'll let Lauren tell you what she's about to, what her 501c is.
Yeah, of course. So hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Click. I am the founder of Let's Go Compost, and we upcycle bulk ingredient bins into free worm composters for anyone in the community to enjoy. And technically, we are 501c3 pending still, but I'm hoping to get that, a little bit. I'm hoping to move it along pretty quickly soon. So
yes, we have high hopes for you. And that's what we're here to talk about here. We're here to understand, what you've brought to the table and what you're bringing to the community, and understand what your business and who you are a little bit as well. So I'll just ask this, give us your origin story. How does one get into composting like that?
Great question.
I just meant like being a composter.
Yeah. No, it's definitely weird. I've always been a weird child, so I do not take any offense.
No
so I'm an Arizona native, born in Tucson, raised in Chandler and Tempe, went to ASU. Yeah. And now I live in Scottsdale. So I've really lived all over Phoenix. And I, like most people in the pandemic, I was at home a lot. I've always really been into reducing my waste and, recycling and having houseplants and all of that.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic brought a lot of opportunity to kind of learn about our own lives. And I definitely felt guilty into trying to recycle absolutely everything I could. And it's called wish cycling, because only 5 to 6% of things that you actually want to recycle will actually get recycled.
Yes.
So it's pretty interesting. And so that led me down the COVID rabbit hole per se of very unique interests that I think a lot of us gathered during that time.
Exactly.
And so I got into composting, and I at first fell a victim to this very expensive electric composter because I was living in an apartment at the time.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was awesome. Like, you put your food scraps in, you hit the button, you open it up after 8 hours, and like, bam, you got dirt.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And I was doing that for a while. And then my sister, who lives in New York City, actually started doing it with worms, which freaked me out. And she was doing it out of a trash can in the middle of her studio apartment in
Nice.
Queens, New York. And I was like, Alyssa, like, this is weird. Like, we're taking a turn here.
Just a little bit.
But inch by inch, she started convincing me, and she's like, it's free, it's faster, it's, more environmentally friendly. You're not using all this new plastic to create composters, which, in essence, voids the purpose of it.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, actually, I got my first worm bin. And again, I bought, whatever the big box store told me I needed to buy. And I probably spent, $100, $200 on this plastic, really pretty, I'm not going to lie, very pretty composting tumbler type system, stackable bins that you put worms in.
Yeah.
And so, I was composting all of these worms and loving it, and like being able to fully have all of my food scraps, all of my landscaping scraps from my townhome being turned into this soil, which I thought was so cool. And then I'm in a few Facebook groups where people were sharing plants and seeds. And I was like, okay, what can I bring to the table out of my townhome? I don't have a lot of space to, do all of this gardening that I'd love to offer, but I can definitely make compost bins. And so I started researching online, and I found out that you can make them out of 5-gallon buckets. And and so then I, further researching, I realized that 5-gallon buckets, the same ones they sell at a lot of big box stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, are the same grade and quality plastic that are being thrown out by the hundreds every day for these bulk ingredient bins. Let me grab one. So they're these guys. And all you need are two. You take one, stack it inside the other. Let me get it up. And then this guy's a little bit stuck on there, but you basically just drill 10 holes, about 10 or so holes into the bottom of the first one. And it just allows any extra water to drain through. It lets the worms get aerated, or it provides aeration, I should say. And it can compost, at its peak about 1/2 pound of food a day, which is, which is just about, a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on how you dine, how much food scraps we produce. Nice. So it's been really awesome so far. We've have a goal of giving away 100 by the end of the year, and we're almost at 70. So
nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
I'm assuming
you had, and I didn't want to slow you down because there's wonderful information that you were providing there, because I love listening. I'm here to listen all the time. And so one of the facts that you threw out me is like, it's a faster method. So explain that. Why is it a faster method?
Yeah. So composting, I always say, like, do whatever works best for you. But I think a lot of people that want to compost, that don't compost, live in apartments or townhomes or condos, or maybe they have an HOA. And that's a lot of things that, a lot of us right now don't have the choice to not live at. I'm sure a lot of us would love to have these beautiful homes and do anything, but that's just not accessible. And so with the worms, not only do they compost extremely quickly, and just to be very blunt, they eat your food and then poop it out, and their poop is your compost. That's what compost is. So think of cow manure, but just with worms. And I love it because they're eating the food so quickly. There's no smells. So if you're doing it correctly, as someone who composts like yourself, I'm sure no bugs and no smell, which I think is the biggest deterrent for people that want to compost.
That's kind of, yeah, that was one of the things that I was, finding issues with. Is just one of the, as someone who composts, and I'll just explain my method is we break down ours a little bit further into, macerating in pieces, and then we put it in a tumbler, and I live and work from home, so I maintain the temperature as much as I can throughout the day. But again, it's like those hot months where I'm like coming out every hour and like trying to moisture, a nice 130, 140, somewhere around there. And you're just trying to like really keep it moving, aerate it, like you said. But again, it's like, unless you're home like me, home primarily throughout the day, it's like you want something quicker, you want something less strenuous, less less steps probably too. So yeah, I love that portion of it. Another aspect I'd love to get into is like, starting out, am I just throwing in the foods? Is there a soil base that the worms are living in? What are the main, like, because you said the 10 holes. My thought is, am I putting in my food on top of is there soil on top of this bucket?
Yeah. So my goal in providing these compost bins is that it is pretty confusing to get started. And I think that's because there's so many different ways to do it. I mean, decomposition, composting has been happening long before we've been here. So, there's so many different ways to do it. And I always like to say, this is how I do it. Other people might have more success differently. But for me, I like to provide the compost bins pre-started. So this allows you to not just get an empty plastic bucket and, be like, what the heck is this? Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. So what I do is, after I drill in the holes, add a lid, add that second bucket to collect any extra drainage. I like to add in, I do shredded newspaper, and Scottsdale Progress has been awesome and lets me raid all of their newspaper stands to grab all of the newspaper. So I shred that, pop it in. I'll get grass clippings from, my local landscapers. That works great as worm bedding. I'll add in coffee grounds from Starbucks, it's called the Grounds to Garden program. So so that's been great. And that also works as grit, which actually helps the worms process food a little bit faster. We'll add in cardboard that's donated by the community. And then we add in the worms. And so right now we are trying to give away compost bins with worms included. So it's 100% ready to go. That said, we've had a lot of interest. So sometimes we have to show people where to buy the worms, but it's super easy. They're like $5 to $10 online, or at a local store. But the worms come in their own bedding, which is just their compost. They think of them as, they live and poop and live in the poop. So, and
that's what they enjoy. That's their living apparatus. That's the thing. Like, you take a fish out of water. It's
exactly. Well. And so by starting it early, not only are we letting people just kind of get the jump, like start right away. You don't have to prepare anything, but we're also allowing a lot of microbial, there we are, bacteria and the process to just begin. So the worms aren't the only thing that are composting, in our compost bin. There's a lot of really, really tiny bacteria that are also breaking down and building. And that's what makes compost such a beneficial resource for a garden or a golf course or your front lawn. There's so many beneficial nutrients in it. So by getting that process started, it definitely helps out. So then, getting back to your question, I promise I'm getting there.
When you take the time,
when you get the bin, I always like to explain it's ready to go. You can put your food scraps in, maybe start with the banana peel. If you've never composted before, pop your banana peel on top, get some cardboard. We normally will provide little cutout circles of cardboard, stick it on top, give it a week, maybe take a photo with your phone, just take a photo of what it looks like. Sometimes for kids, I like to have them measure the top to the bottom just to see then in a week when they come back and they look at their bin, they're like, oh my gosh, it went down half an inch. What the heck? Like, oh, the banana peel is half gone now. So starting slowly is like, honestly, it's hard if you get really excited about new projects, but the slower the better to begin. And then you can really work your way up. So our bins are really just for starters. They're not going to compost, maybe every single thing you can ever think of, or, provide all of this dirt for all of your land. But they're a really great educational resource that I think has helped kind of made it a little bit more easier for people to get into composting who want to get into composting, but just don't really know where to start.
Absolutely. I think you're 100% on the right track here. And one of the things that I have always been a preach for every little bit counts. Every 1% that you step forward or make a difference. And not only as what you're doing is bringing that 1% and bringing it 1% from everybody and allowing that greater difference to add up. And so I would love to be a part of this as a parent, as my little one, to help him understand composting on a smaller scale and what he can do. So I would love to let's walk through it. If I'm a parent, or someone in an apartment or wants to get involved with this and bring, fill out the forms, like, do I just go to your website and then I fill out the form, you give me the bucket in the end?
It's as easy as that. I mean, so right now we are working through with a few really awesome partners where we can host our monthly pickups. Right now they're in Scottsdale. I want to start expanding it to the West Valley, Tucson, and Flagstaff, just to make sure that people aren't commuting, an hour to come get a bin. But right now we host pickups once a month. You just sign up online. We'll holler at you when your bin's ready. And it's as easy as that. It's just a Saturday morning pickup. Sometimes people are ready to go and just get their bin, don't talk to me, and head right on their day. Some people want to chat for 15, 20 minutes. Honestly, I could chat forever, but I totally respect you if you just want to get your bin and leave. I like to provide people with a lot of community resources because I was inspired to start this from little free libraries, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. And
I mean, if you've gone for a walk around here, you
exactly. But it's such a community driven effort. One person, if they're on vacation, it keeps going. Like if you need to stop, you're pregnant, you have a child, you have a job, whatever, the project keeps moving. And so I love to drive people to, there's so many Facebook groups about gardening, about composting. There's local groups about gardening and composting. I love
people
Reddit.
Are making efforts to share what they have too. It's like you said, you're one of many who would I have composting or I have this business, but I also have other means of so there's another component of sharing what you guys have. So one of the things I know for one of the areas is the chips, the tree,
the wood chips. Free chip drop. Great group. Love them. They're awesome.
I love them too. And it's just, again, it's you have to learn from your community. You have to bring in those connections. And so I very much love that this is something that you've built your kind of the mission behind another, another group, which is you said, those the book libraries. I think it's purposeful. It's so community driven. So it's so fun and beautiful because I'll give you insight on my little walk. I passed about 2 or 3 of them, but one of them in particular has a community cork board with
I love that.
You put on what events or anything cool around the area, and it's just always filled. It's always fun to kind of read and pick out there's a babysitter or musicians providing lessons, all that fun stuff. So it's things like that.
And I think it just helps build culture that I think a lot of people love. I mean, I love going to First Fridays. I love going to Old Town Scottsdale. But that doesn't mean that we have to go there just to find this, these arts, these artists, these opportunities, this culture. It can be all around us, even in the suburbs where I grew up, the gravel of Chandler, as I like to say. You just have to put in the effort and people will show up. I think just giving people an opportunity to give back and showing them how to give back is the best thing you can do.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we also have understood here, especially during the pandemic and being the podcast group that specializes in local stuff, one of the things is finding the silver lining in this, very horrific kind of striking on, this pandemic is like you find those moments to find joy. And the greatest part that we get to bring is that light, that joy, those stories. It's like, hey, we suffered, but we also had this come out of it. And so my thing is, it's like, if we can provide that much light to the joy, it's like, don't give up, don't, keep trying and keep doing what you're doing. And so you're doing an incredible thing here. And I know it's hard work, and again, nonprofit work, I always say, is never the easiest thing, but it's always the most fulfilling deep down inside, because your passion is what's driving you the most. So I have high hopes for you, and I want to get to know you a little bit better. So I'd love to nerd out with you for a minute.
Yeah, let's go for it.
How extensive is your separation of recycling and separation of your coffee grinds? Because for me too, it's like, we're taking out the coffee grinds from the K-pods and things like that, and putting it, we have a little jar of separating all the little pieces, like fruit peels and things like that. How extensive do you go?
Yeah, not at all. I'm super lazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I chuck it in there and they
eat it. Just chuck it. Yeah, good.
It's the best thing for someone who's really lazy, honestly.
It shows this exact, what route. So for me, it's, such and such, because honestly, it's because my little one, he's the priority. So it's I put it all in a waste area, a basket. And then I'd later down the road, when he's sleeping,
he's just going through it. And I'm lucky where I can just I don't know if lucky is the right phrase. Lazy would be the better phrase.
Let's say
I'm easier. I'm not looking for my compost to be a specific balance of nitrogen or, carbon and all that. Some people are, and some people you can totally get so scientific with what you put in and what you get out.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it to reduce my own waste. My neighborhood in Scottsdale actually doesn't offer recycling anymore. So I know. And so it's been definitely a challenge to reduce my waste to an amount where I know I can compost this, or find a recycling group for metal cans and stuff like that that's nearby. I have this plastic bucket bin type thing that goes in my freezer. So if during the week I'm running to work and need to eat breakfast or something, and I have a banana peel, a little bit left of oatmeal, I just chuck it in there. Same with, apple cores, all that, and then pull it out. I like to do Sunday nights because I just think it's kind of a nice ritual. Let it thaw out, put them in the compost bins, forget about it. Honestly, my hands aren't in the worm bins as much as people probably think. It's mostly just the back end work is what I'm doing all day, connecting. Right now we have so many school programs we're starting up, which I am just thrilled about. But it's such an easy way to make a huge impact. I was researching this week, and Arizona is the #1 state for food waste in the United States.
Wow. That's that is one thing that I did kind of know in the back of my head, because we had, we've spoken about nonprofits becoming on our show. And one of the ones is Waste Not AZ, which is taking the food. They're so awesome.
Yeah.
And incredible teamwork. And just, I can't say enough about them, but it's it's, I did have that in the magnet because they told me about it back then. And so, I agree, 100% of what we can do at home as much as possible to just, again, I'm a homeowner, so it's different from apartment owner. But one of the things that I can definitely, if you're a homeowner, you want to shred your documents to begin with, and you want to shred your Amazon boxes to begin with. So why not take the next step further? Shred those documents. I have a shredder, so I shred them, and then I take those shreds and use it as a component for the composting. Take like you said, you're using the cardboard boxes that you rip them down even further. You're doing the work anyways. Take the steps. 1 step further, 1% further.
And we're not asking people to change their entire life because I could change my entire life, go completely zero waste. The
Yeah.
impact that would probably be seen is pretty dismal, unfortunately. We're just asking people to change one thing in their life, just change instead of putting your banana peel in the trash, maybe put it in your compost bin. It doesn't have to be every single one. We're not aiming for perfection.
Yeah.
We just want to change one part of your day. And that's going to be, if we can get 100 people to do it, 200, I mean, it'll show. So it's great. I love just talking to people about it because people are so passionate and I just don't think they know where to start sometimes.
I think the other thing too is that we show our passion in what we do as well. And so I can attest to, as a parent, it's like I take the compost or I take my soil and I also use it for my plants, and I also use it to grow things. So it's like I'm teaching my son and my and using it for my own home. Yeah, so it's like it's again, we're talking about recycling in the sense that it's like it's going from one thing to another thing to another thing to we're reusing and recycling. And so it's beautiful in the sense that's like it just stays here in the household. It just stays from, like, why not?
And it's so easy to get kids involved. So even just ripping up cardboard, shredding some newspaper,
He loves it. He loves he loves shredding it up, and it's
so many things to do for toddlers. For you can keep going. So right now we actually have a volunteer teacher who's helping us write an entire STEAM program for our classroom composting program. So STEAM, for some people who might not know, it's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Art, reading, and math. So it's a full spectrum of learning through composting programs. So we've been able to sign up about 30 classrooms so far. My goal is 100 by January for our composting program. And we're creating workshops and slides and science experiments and videos. And there's just so many fun things you can do and use it as such an educational tool for children, even adults. I mean, I was, as ironic as this is, my degree is in business. I haven't taken a science class since my sophomore year of high school. I wasn't interested in it. I had no desire to learn. It was so hard for me to understand these really vague concepts of chemical interactions and matter and all of that. And I was on Reddit. They have really good, it's called vermicomposting. It's another name for worm composting, but there's a really good Reddit thread called vermicompost. And some of the people in there are just beyond intelligent. And so I asked for the kids, I wanted to, learn, okay, if I put in 5 banana peels, am I going to get 5 banana peels worth of dirt out? Even though I know that's not true, what happens? Like, can someone please tell me where all that's going? And they're like, matter cannot be created nor destroyed. It's only changing form. And I was like, totally heard that one before. Awesome. Cool. Like, can you give me a refresh? And so he's like, okay, think of it this way. The water is evaporating. It's going in the air. That's part of it. Some of it is going into the worms. So the worms are growing. And that's where portions of it are going. And like, just the way they were explaining it, I was like, wish she told me that 10 years ago, would have gotten a science degree. Like, it's so cool. There's so many fun things. I mean, we have kids drawn worms and we're going to make a sticker book. Like there's so many different ways. Like, it's just so fun. I love it.
Again, one of the greatest joys that I get from this is, again, the passion that comes from every owner of like their thing. And it's the story of like how they start and where I get the real juice out of it. Because to me, there's always these different archetypes or stories for people of like their own background of like where they come from. And one of the beautiful things is people who just stumble into this joy, and where it's like, I didn't know where it came from. Like you said, you're a business person. So it's like, I found this one thing out of this part of the world shut down. And it's, this hard time, but I found this one thing that gave me joy.
Mm-hmm.
Now I bring it to life and it brings me joy every day. And I just stumbled upon it. Like it didn't really like to me, that is beautiful because the passion, it's
Mm-hmm.
big. It's a flame that's something that is just gonna propel you forward. So I always, love hearing that and love the vibes that come off of it because
Mm-hmm.
to me it just really reverts back into what I'm doing here is just
Yeah.
I love this. This will never go away. This is something that I I find it the most comforting to make new friends this way and
Mm-hmm.
meet new people and understand the world around me and understand the people around me. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you again for just sharing, your passion and your
Mm-hmm.
joy and how much you love doing this because it shows. It really does show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I've heard of your podcast for years. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot my shot and see,
Yeah.
I'm like, we're barely getting off the ground. I mean,
Hey, but that's where the most fun and creative parts are. It's just being where you're at this moment of like upward momentum is what I
yeah,
like to say. And so keep
definitely.
going, keep getting dirty and keep putting your hands in there. And at the same time, I have wonderful high hopes for you because you're focused in this like your world of like Scott, like the east
hmm
side you
Yeah.
haven't propelled over to the
Mm,
west side yet in the school systems. And I know that that'll be a new opening for you. And I hope it
yeah.
will be an opportunity for your connections to the farmlands that are on the west side
Yeah,
too, as well.
exactly. Yeah, I'd love
Um,
that.
I would love to introduce you into some of the people that we know
hmm
that we have connections to because they
hmm
would love to help you out and be a part of this as well. Because I
That's awesome.
this is the fun part is meeting
It's
new people, meeting the connections that'll be able to
yeah.
help your business.
And I will say, even if you don't want a compost bin, even though I'm more than happy to give you one, I always like to say one of the easiest ways you can support us. We don't take any cash donations, nothing like that. We just need these buckets. So if you know any restaurants, any bakeries, any grocery stores, say you're getting your Sunday groceries tonight, I just swing by the bakery section. Crumble has been awesome, by the way, for buckets.
Nice.
And you just ask them for it and you just tell them what it's for. You're like, I would
Composting.
love to take your trash and use it for a garden project. Some people will give you weird looks, but I don't really care because I always get weird looks.
It's
So
okay. It's okay. Be
that's one of
weird.
the
Be weird a little
easiest
bit.
things, and that will help us grow. Our size we can only give as away as many compost bins as many buckets we upcycle.
Okay, I got
So
you.
we're
I love that.
definitely on the hunt for more buckets and helping them keep them out of Arizona landfills.
Yes, I love that. And let me take this moment to just say it's like have I have an understanding of, the science behind it. I have an understanding of like a little bit. So I neither
hmm
like I'm not a professional. I just really
hmm
love meeting people like you who can give
Thank
me
you.
insight. And so this has been so much fun for me.
Yeah,
I
thank you so much.
I have one more question. If you could
Okay.
give us
Yeah.
goals for the future and
Yeah.
for this business, just because it's a wonderful way to conclude our conversation,
hmm
is just give us a way for you gave us the buckets, but are there other goals or events that you want to put
hmm
on for
Yeah,
our listeners to help you?
definitely. So we are working on pickups and workshops with the local libraries.
Oh,
So tell your
okay.
local library. I'm a huge library girl, loved reading when I was little. Lost it for a little bit, like I think a lot of people do. But a lot of free libraries also have free gardening tools that you can rent
Mm,
out or free
yes.
seeds.
Free
And
seeds I use.
hmm and it's free. Don't why spend money when someone's willing to help, foster this community we're trying to build. And
Exactly.
so,
Go to your local
um,
library. Stop on in.
yeah, and reduce waste. But my goal right now, primary goal, is getting our 501(c)(3) so we can start getting some grants. After that, my next immediate goal is giving away 100 compost bins by the end of 2022, which we are so close to hitting. So we have two more compost bin pickups this year, one in November, one in December. You can sign up for either of them on our website. Next year, my goal, really big goal, is to give away 1,000 bins. I think we can do it. I know. Well, I'll definitely need to move out of the guest bedroom if I do that.
Warehouse.
Yes. We're looking for storage units right now. So there's so many fun things on the horizon. And then third goal is to help get more classrooms composting, whether they want to do a formal program or not. We have a lot of lunchrooms that kids love to compost their scraps through. And so if you are a parent or a teacher or a student listening and you want to get your school composting, you can sign up on our website, or just send us an email if you want a lot of bins at once, which we are more than happy to provide.
Awesome. You are doing a lot of great work there, Lauren. And I have, you stand out from a lot of the people from like who really do this. And so again, knowing that you're a part of the Phoenix and greater Arizona community, fantastic. We have a saying here, it's community over competition. So if you can spread the word and keep that in the back of your head of as a saying for you and your business, I think it'll take you a long way and take your business a long way as well. So
thank you.
Kudos to you. As we conclude our conversation here, I leave it to you to let everyone know where they can find you online, social media, because you do have a wonderful TikTok that I want people to go check out.
Thank you.
Any lasting events that you want people to know and highlight and be aware of. So
definitely. So you can follow us at Let's Go Compost on every social media platform. Our website is letsgocompost.org, and you can sign up for our December and November bin pickups on our website. That's about it.
Thank you so much. And before we go, ladies and gentlemen, we do have to do our little bit here at the end. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us social media wise, Finding Arizona Podcast under everything. Last but not least, patreon.com/Finding Arizona Podcast if you want to become a super fan. And we always say at the end of every episode, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. And we will see you on the next episode. Good night, y'all.